Cool. So we're going to build a React app by 9 a.m. So today you're going to build an app using these technologies. We're going to use JavaScript and Python for the programming language. We're going to use React.js and Brev for the frameworks. And you're going to learn about deploying, API development, and hosting. So before we jump into building, we need to understand what it is that we're building. So the first things I just really briefly, maybe 5 or so minutes, we're going to talk about what's inside of an app, what are APIs or endpoints, the technologies we're using, why we're using them, and then we'll get started. So what's inside of an app? There are three main things of pieces of an app. There's the client, the server, and the database. The client is what the user touches. This is like the user interface or the front end. So any button that you click, any touch screen that you tap, this is the client code. So we're going to be using React for the client code. What are inside apps? Oh, what? Sorry. The database. So this is where, sorry, ignore this. This is where the data gets stored. Okay. So the client is what the user touches. The data is what keeps track of it all, I guess. Before the internet, the client and database used to be shipped together. If you wanted to deliver software in the year 2000, you would have to go and mail disks to stores. People would have to buy your CDs or your floppy disks. So the client and database were very much coupled. If the client needed data from the database, it could just reach right in. Before the internet, every new device required a lot of code. If you were going to make a Windows app and then a Mac app and then an iPhone app, you had to rewrite the client and rewrite the database for every single app. So what if the database could be streamed? So we're saying here that each piece needs a client and database, but if we stream the database, if we centralize it, we no longer have to rewrite all the parts for all the platforms. So a server is just a fancy thing that lets our database get streamed. So now when the client wants some sort of data, when you click on play on Spotify and you are expecting to listen to a song, rather than the client just having the song, it can make a request to the server, and the server can look in the database and respond. The lighter the client, the less that we actually have to ship to the individual platforms, the less code we have to rewrite. So if we put more code in the server, the client will become even lighter. So now that we have this server that can kind of interface between the client and the database, we can put more of our business logic here. So for example, if you're watching a TikTok video and you like it, TikTok's algorithm is going to show you more videos like that. But rather than have to rewrite their algorithm on Android and then rewrite it for web and then rewrite it for iOS, the algorithm sits on the server. And all the client needs to do is let the server know that the song has been liked. So the clients are kind of like dummy shells to the interface. And it's really the server and database that's doing the heavy lifting. So an API or an endpoint is just a language for the client to talk to the server. So we said here that the client and server now need to make requests and responses. That way they can interface with the database. And the language that they do so is called an API. So the anatomy of an API, it's kind of like how we have grammar. We have nouns and verbs and punctuation. The anatomy of an API or endpoint, there's the verb, which is essentially what we're aiming to do. There's any sort of data that we can give the server to help it out. There's the URL, which is the location of the server. And then there's the response, which is what the server is going to send back to us. So there's 4 verbs that I'm going to go over that we're going to use for the building today. So a GET request is how a client asks for data. The important thing here is that it's idempotent, which means it cannot change the data. A GET request needs to be able to, I should be able to call a GET request 1 time or 1,000 times. And it's really important that we don't change the data. So an example here is TikTok getting you videos. If I open up the TikTok app 1,000 times and it modified the videos, that would be a problem. A put request is how the client changes data. So for example, you already exist in TikTok's database. So if you want to change your username, you're going to make a put request, or your client will. So that's just changing like a data that exists in the database, a modification. A post request, this verb means that you're going to create data. So if you upload a video, if you upload a picture to Instagram, if you create an account, so when you created Brev accounts just now, that's a post request. And a delete request is how the client deletes data. So this is the verb that's telling the server, please remove this piece of information from your database. So the technologies that we're going to use, we're using JavaScript in the client and Python for our server and database. The framework, we're going to use Brev for the server and database and React for the client. So again, the anatomy was the verb, which is what we're intending to do. Parameters, which are optional data that we would send over to help the server with our request. We have the URL, which is the location, and then the response. So why we're using React? There's a lot of ways to build clients, but we're favoring React here for two reasons. One is reusability in code, and two is re-rendering or updating. So for the reusability, look at this HTML here. If you're not familiar with HTML, that's fine. It's a div is just like an item, and a p tag is just a paragraph. So we're just going to display some text, and it's going to be the color red. We wrote the color red here 4 times. So if we wanted to change it from red to blue, we have to make changes to our code 4 times. And so really quickly, if this component was reusable, we wouldn't have to make 4 modifications every time. React allows us to make things called components. So we're going to be using those today. Components look like this. So person is the name of the component, and it's going to return to us this tag. It can accept the name as a variable, as a parameter, sorry, and it'll just display it for us. So then when we want to actually render our code, we can use person as a tag. The benefit here is while we're still writing person out 4 times, if I want to change the color of person, I just do it once, and it'll automatically update across for all of these items. The other is re-rendering and updating. So when we make these components, we can kind of abstract the data as well. If name changes, this component will know to change itself. We can make the component update itself. This re-rendering and updating is really useful because we can make sure that your UI is not showing stale data. Do you guys have any questions about this?
Yeah, sorry, I had one question. What do you mean when you talk about name changes? Like, are you saying just like when the variable changes, or could you just clarify that really quickly for me?
Yeah, so for example, we're going to make a to-do list, right? So the to-do list is going to have, if you can imagine the UI of a to-do list, it's going to be like check boxes with what the to-do is, right? If the to-do list item changes, if you check the item, or if the item got checked by some other UI, right? Let's say you want your to-do items to expire by 5 p.m. and it's suddenly 5:01. Those items should be removed. But we can write that logic in the to-do item, so that way it knows if it's expired to remove itself or to mark itself as checked.
Cool, thank you.
So yeah, pretty much just the data can change from the server. Data can change because of UI changes and things like that. So why we're using Brev? In the previous example, I showed you 3 platforms. We said Mac, Windows, and iOS. So before the internet, if you wanted to ship a lot of, if you wanted to write code and you got 1 million users, every user has their own copy of the database. Today, each client isn't on a per platform basis, but it's per user. So if you have, this server paradigm allows us some really nice things. So for example, the Gmail experience you're used to today, where you go check your email on your phone, then you go check your email on your computer, you're seeing the same things, right? If you open up an email on your phone, then you go to your computer, you expect it to be opened. And that's because you've been streaming your database. So that's a real nice benefit of, some of the other benefits we listed, but a problem of that servers introduce is each user is now talking to the server. And if you think about it, like if 30 people are talking to you at the same time, who do you answer first? How do you organize that? How do you orchestrate that? So that's a new problem of scalability. And then there's the other problem of concurrency. So not only does the server have to manage the fact that every individual user is trying to speak to it and probably trying to say a lot, but the order in which you watch things matters, right? If you watch the video and if someone's downvoting it, you might not get those downvotes if you got the video before simultaneously or before the downvote took place. So the order in which things happen changes the data, and that's another really hard problem. So every app has to handle these hard problems, and they spend a lot of effort. By using Brev, we're going to be able to just focus on the code that goes into our server. So let's build. So I guess, does someone want to volunteer and share their screen? And I think, so the way we're going to do this is the code has been, I've commented out all of the code. So we'll go one by one and someone will share their screen. We'll uncomment a small piece. We'll work through it together. And then we'll keep building from there. If no one volunteers, Pablo can go.
What?
It's fine. We're all learning together.
Okay, it's just I'm having, my computer's having a little memory problems. It's telling
Okay.
me, but let me try it. I'm using a sandbox, okay? So
Yeah, no worries. And I guess real quick, was the API explanation clear for everyone? Do you kind of feel like you have a grasp on what we're building?
okay.
Cool.
Okay, yeah, so you can see my screen now, right?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so scroll to the bottom of app.tsx.
Okay. Right.
Okay, go, sorry, a little bit higher, like around line 130. And here, I'll do it alongside you.
Yeah.
Let me see. Sorry. Okay, sorry, go to line 79. I have my code editor up, so I'm following along with you. Yeah. So you guys should see the number 1 emoji. That's kind of the first step that we're going to be taking. So we'll start here. Perfect. Yeah, right there on line 79.
Okay.
So remove line 79.
Like just delete it completely?
Yeah. And then remove line 91. You can just backspace those characters if you want.
And then 91, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And everyone, you guys should follow along. So backspace, so delete lines 79 and 91 from the code. And let me know if you guys would rather us just kind of all watch Pablo do it, and then I can give you guys time to do it yourselves. We can go that route too. Cool. So go ahead and save this.
Okay. How do I save it?
I think Command S maybe should save it.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I'm sorry. My computer is kind of old, so it's a little bit slow.
No worries. If you'd rather, we can pick on someone else.
I mean, I can do it. It's okay for me, but I don't want to just slow down everyone else.
Yeah. Is it saving or?
Yeah, I think it is. I just see the it's loading a little bit. It's supposed. I clicked Command S, so it should be saved.
Okay. On the right in the browser, can you refresh?
Yeah.
And maybe scroll around. Maybe if it's small, we can't see it. But you should have an input field and a button now.
Let me see. I just clicked refresh.
Okay. Can you scroll around in that in the little browser on the? Oh, there we go. Nice. Okay, cool. So we now have this input field and a button. Do you guys all have that? Everyone else? Cool. So try this out. Try typing inside of the input field, and you'll see that nothing really happens. Oh, someone in the chat. Sorry, just posting that. Okay. Cool. So now that you have this uncommented, oh, I don't see the web browser anymore.
Yeah, it went blank. I refreshed it again. Let's see if it.
Okay. No worries. Does someone else want to share for a little bit?
I can share mine.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, let me just stop it.
There we go. Can you see it?
Yes, perfect. Okay, cool. So if you look at what we just did, we added in an input field and a button. Okay. So in order to create a to-do, you want to have an input field for people to type it out and a button for you to actually send it over to the server. So try changing the value from hello to something else. Maybe just put your name on line 79.
Oh, okay. Not on the.
Yeah. Perfect. So what you're seeing is that field in the code is what's going to be displayed to the user, right? But you don't want this to be hard coded. You want it to be a variable. React is kind of interesting. If you're in a component, components can re-render. Cato asked a question earlier. He was asking about how it re-renders, and pretty much if there's new data, we can refresh the component. That would be really bad if we put a variable and every time there was new data, it would just refresh itself. So React has this concept called a hook. Can you scroll up a little bit?
Yeah, which line?
Around line 13. Right there, yeah, line 13. So this is called a hook. What we're doing is we want to make a variable called new to do. But as I was saying earlier, if you just defined a variable the way you would in a regular programming language, it could get overridden very easily. So instead, what we do is we set new to do, and then we get a function called set new to do. So we have the variable and a function to modify it. This allows us to safely change the variable. It's one of the quirks about React. So just kind of go with it for now, and it'll make more sense as you use it. So use state is what signifies that this is a state variable. This is a variable for the component. And then those empty quotes at the end, that's just the default value. So Eugenio, can you put inside of the empty quotes, can you just put something as a different default? You could just say hello if you want.
Yeah.
So if you type in the input field right now, can you try that in the UI? Nothing's going to happen because we're not handling the change. And we've set it to a default value. So what we're going to do now is say the default value is this variable new to do from line 13. And on change, we're going to use the set new to do function to change it. So Eugenio, can you go down back to where we were with the input field?
Yeah. What's there?
A little bit higher. Yeah, right there. Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
that's it. Yep.
Yeah, so on line 79, instead of Eugenio, can you delete that, including the quotes, remove it?
Yep.
And type new to do.
Was that how it was? Yeah, there we go.
Perfect. So now we're seeing that default value you made. Hello. And if you look on line 81, I was console logging the change. So whenever there's a change, we're capturing it. It's called event.target.value. And I was just saying console.log. But instead, we want to change new to do. So can you, instead of console log, delete that and instead type set new to do? Oh, no, keep the line, just remove the console.log part.
Oh, okay, got it.
Because it's still going to be a function.
So
set new, yeah. So set, oh, no, keep that piece.
Okay.
At the beginning of the line.
Yep.
Type set new to do. And then open parentheses. Event.target.value should go in the parentheses. It's a function.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, nice. So look at what we're doing now. We have the value set to the variable, and when it changes, we update the variable. So now try typing in your input field. It works. Nice.
Do I add it or not yet?
Yeah, so the button doesn't do anything yet.
Okay.
Does everyone have this? Let me know if anyone doesn't have this step. Frank, Mackenzie, Cato? I see Mackenzie threw up a fist.
1 second, I'm getting an error.
Feel free to share your screen.
Okay. Oh.
Does anyone else have an error, or is everyone good to go? Jimson, do you want to paste your error into the chat? Do you want to share your screen real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, let me see. Wait, hold up. Line 79 and 91, those curly braces. Can you try removing them? Yeah, that should be good.
Yep, it works.
Nice. Julia, are you good? Nice. How about you, Mackenzie?
Sorry, 1 second.
No worries.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My preferences on my computer would have me quit everything in order to share my screen, so I don't want to do that.
Okay, no worries. You can paste an error that you're having into the chat if you'd like.
Okay. Okay, actually, it's working now.
Awesome.
I
Okay,
figured it
cool.
out. Okay, sorry.
Nice. No worries. Okay, cool. So let's move on. Does someone want to share their screen next? Any volunteer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Cool.
Can you guys see it?
Yeah, this is perfect. So on line 88, we have an on click. So when the button gets clicked, the on click function gets called. This notation you're going to see a lot of is like the parentheses and then like a fat arrow with an equal sign. That's just a shorthand way of writing a function in JavaScript. So whatever's in parentheses is so it's just shorthand notation of writing that. So instead of this on click, we want to, oh, can you guys hear me? Yeah, sorry. So instead of this on click, remove line 88 and uncomment line 89. Cool. And so now there should be an error because the on click, I don't think, yeah, try to remove those two curly braces on line 88. Yeah, perfect. So now there's an error because create to do doesn't exist. So if you look for the other one emoji, it should be a little bit higher up on the screen. Just a little bit higher. Yeah, right there. So line 27 and 32. Can you go ahead and uncomment those? Or actually just remove those lines and that'll uncomment it. Cool. So now we have this function called create to do. So when the button gets clicked, instead of just like notifying the user that the button's clicked, it's going to call this function, which is going to create a to do. Typically, when you're writing client code, you want to write one file that actually knows how to talk to the server. In this code base, it's called agent.ts. So create to do is erroring right now because there's a function it's depending on that doesn't exist. Can you scroll up? Or actually, sorry, can you open up the agent.ts file? Look around line 30. There's a function called create to do. Same thing. Remove line 30, remove line 41. Nice. So what this is doing is it's going to create a to-do item. It takes in a string. So it's, whatever the name of the to-do item is. We're going to use a post request. On line 33, you see post. So that's the verb. And then on line 34, you see it's going to pass the title and the fact that the to-do has not yet been complete. So false to the server. So go ahead and save this. and then go back to app.tsx. So create to do just needs to be imported. So if you go to the top of this file, you'll see line 8. Yeah, so remove that line and uncomment below. Nice, cool. So save this. Awesome. And so if you go back to your app, you should be able to actually create to-dos yet. You won't know because you can't see them yet. So that will do next. So in order to actually, so right now, you guys are all using my server. So on agent.ts at the very top, there's a brev URL. So what we need to do next is set up your brev URL. So can everyone go to app.brev.dev? And I guess real quick, should we pause? Did anyone get stuck with this step? Cool. Okay, so Frank, can you go to the code for workshop notion? Do you see at the bottom under the copy the following into your brev endpoint? Yeah, right there. If you hover over this code, I think there should be a copy button to the right. Maybe there's not. Okay, there's not. Just yeah, can you just copy this? And then go to the brev editor. And on the left, can you click add endpoint? And just call it to do.
Can you guys hear me? I think he froze.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay. Yeah, we lost him.
We're back.
We lost you for a second there.
Yeah. Is everyone still in here? Can
I think we just lost Julia. That's it.
wait, can you guys hear me? Test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Is someone else the host? Can someone make me the host if I'm not? Oh, I am the host. Okay, cool. Where is everyone? Sorry, my internet just cut out, which is a great timing. Okay, cool. So you pasted this in. That's all you have to do. Now copy the URL above the code editor. Nice. And go back to your code editor, the one that you were writing the React code in, and go to the agent file. Go to agent.ts, sorry. And then at the very top, you'll have brev URL. So just paste your URL here instead. Nice, and save it. So now your React app is actually configured and set up to talk to your server. So with Brev, you just built, now you on Brev, you have your server. So kind of as we were talking about many clients before, the benefit of Brev is that it's going to handle the infrastructure for you. So you can just write code in Python. You can make changes and they're immediately deployed and available to you on this API. So now if you go and create an item, so go to the React app, like in the browser, and go create like 3 to-dos. Yeah, there's not gonna be a whole lot of feedback yet, but that's fine. So just, you can, I don't know, add some other item as well. And then go into the Brev console, the Brev app. And if you go to the menu on the top left where there's go to storage. That's your database viewer. So notice these are all the items you were creating. So you created hello a few times. And then you created click and 3. So this is a database. You now have a database that's storing your items. You have a UI that's actually creating items in the database by telling your server, it's talking to your server using the post request. Does everyone else have this set up? Pablo, Mackenzie, Frank, oh, sorry, Frank's sharing. Julia, Aiden, Cato.
Yep.
Cool. If everyone's good, let's keep going. So who wants to share next? Or should we just keep going with Frank?
I think someone else should have fun.
I think Frank is doing good.
Cato, do you want to go?
Yeah, I don't mind. I'll screen share right now.
Cool.
All right, does this work where it's kind of like split screen, or should I make the code bigger?
Oh no, this is perfect. This is great.
Cool.
Okay, so now you guys have an app that is creating items in the database, but that does us no good if we can't view them. So now we're gonna add a view. So everywhere that you have the number 2 emoji, we're gonna uncomment. So why don't we start with the server file? Now that you guys see that you have a server, it has APIs, let's continue talking to it. So yeah, so on line 21, can you go ahead and remove line 20, 21, and 28? So what we're doing here, yeah, there's gonna be some bugs, so we'll go through it together. But so this is gonna be just like how we made a function that. So again, the agent file, the goal is that it knows how to talk to the server, so the rest of your client code can just focus on the client. So before we made a post method, but now we want to view our items. So we're gonna make a get method. So it's a get request. It's again the same URL, and we're gonna return the response. But we're using TypeScript, not just JavaScript. And TypeScript is super helpful. TypeScript, we can define what the data looks like. And this is important because if you don't do that, it's possible that the server doesn't respond to the right data, but your agent file doesn't know, so it just sends it off. But the data is bad, it's wrong. And it just leads to these weird bugs. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say, I want to tell you what a to-do item looks like. And it's going to be really helpful. We'll see that in a bit. So can you go to the top of this file? There's a code block on line 4, 5, and 11. Can you remove those lines? So an interface is the TypeScript way of defining a type. So this is like string, int, bool for Boolean. We're going to create a new one called to-do type. Can you go to your Brev code? So if you look at on line 12, 13, and 14 of your Brev code, we created a class called to-do, and it has a title, which is a string, and it has a Boolean of whether or not it's complete. If you look at the post function on your Brev code, this is what gets called when you create a new item. Notice we add an item called ID on line 18. We create an ID because every item in your database needs to have a unique ID, so we know how to actually find it. So there are 3 fields that exist on a to-do. It's the title, whether or not it's complete, and the ID. So if you look back at your agent.ts file, line 6, 7, and 8, those are the 3 fields of a to-do item. So now we've translated. So the agent is now speaking the same language as your server. It understands what a to-do item is. It has these 3 fields. Does that make sense? So, Kato looks confused. Oh, cool. So now we want to create, so this API, when we get our to-do items, we're going to be getting multiple. So if you look at line 9 in your Brev code, so line 9, the return object, the key is to-dos. So we say, these are the to-dos, and then we return to you a list of to-do items. So we need to create an interface. We need to create a type in our TypeScript code that understands what the server is going to return, which is to-dos, and the type of to-dos is a list of to-dos. So can you delete line 12, 13, and 17 on your TS file? So here we're saying that we can call these interfaces whatever we want. So multiple to-dos, the type is to-dos, And what that gives you is a list of the to-do type that we defined above. So now when you make your get to-dos call on line 19, it's going to go talk to the server. And on line 23, notice at the very end, we say as multiple to-dos. So we're saying this code should get mad if it doesn't match the interface that we defined above. So we're kind of just creating a strong contract. We're making sure that we're all speaking the same language because we don't want to make a UI that's dealing with faulty data. Does that make sense? Sort of. It's kind of one of the quirks of TypeScript, but you learn to love it. And I'll show you guys why. So go to app.tsx. So now, wherever there's a number 2, let's go ahead and delete it. And notice up top, there's the import. So we're going to need line 5 uncommented. Cool. And actually, real quick, I just want to walk you through one of the lines. So look at line 15. So just like how we made that variable with a function that allows us to set it for the input field, we're going to do the same thing for the list of to-do items. So we want to display a list of to-do items, right? So we're going to use to-do list, comma, set to-do list. That's the function that can update it. And then in the use state, you'll see it says to-do type. That in like those, what are these called? I'm blanking, but you see it. So what that's doing is telling us the type of this. So we're saying that to-do list can only contain a list of to-do types. And and then at the end, we're giving it empty brackets. That's just saying it's going to start as an empty list. Does this all make sense? Cool. So can you scroll down? So here on line 41 and 45, can you remove those comments? Oh yeah, sorry, there's line 32. I missed a spot. So what you've done so far is on line 21, we just made a function. We called it refresh to-do list. You're going to see this word async a lot, async and await in JavaScript. So when you write code in Python, if you write a line of code, you expect the code to finish before the next line runs. JavaScript doesn't make that guarantee. When you're writing JavaScript, you're kind of like being a cowboy and it just does whatever. And it's kind of like the Wild West. And so you have to set some of these things. So on line 22, get to-dos. You're saying, I'm going to go talk to the server. It could take, I don't know how long to go talk to the server. So JavaScript's just going to let that line. So you can use the await command. So await says, wait for the server to respond to me. And then, yeah. And then on line 24, just like how during the input field, when someone changes it, we were setting the value of the input field. Once we get the response, we're going to set to-do list response. Remember those interfaces we had? They're really useful. So Kato, remove line, you see where it says response.todos? In the parentheses on line 24. Delete that. I want you to type it out yourself. I want to show you what your code editor will do. So just type response dot and then just pause. Okay, cool. That wasn't as exciting, but sometimes it'll actually recommend for you what's available. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, was it response.todo or to-dos? I think it's to-dos. Never mind. Can you just put the S? It's .todos. Yeah. I think just TODOS, like all lowercase. Yeah. Okay, just leave that. So depending on the code editor, sometimes it'll actually like, it can pick up that you define types and it'll like help you out as you're typing. So that's one of the big benefits of this. So scroll down again. Oh yeah, you can backspace that one. Yeah. So look at line 52. So just do this block first. So don't do line 62 yet. I want to work through the example first, but delete line 52 and 60. And remove the curly brace all the way. Yeah. And then, oh, no, leave that one. Just remove line 60. Perfect. Okay. So this is kind of this is a little bit more like syntactically heavy. So definitely ask questions if you guys have any questions here. So we're going to make a list. It's just a list of numbers 1 through 7. And .map is just a way to iterate over them. So we're going to say for every item in this list, we're going to run this function. So inside of the map parentheses, we build a function. Element is the item. It's the individual item. And then in the curly braces, after the fat arrow, we're saying what we want to do with the item. So what do you guys think this code's going to do before we actually run it? Does someone want to volunteer? Julia?
It's gonna return 7 elements as divs.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. Yeah. So Kato, can you go to the React app and refresh once you, save this code file and then refresh that. Perfect. So it's just going to show you the list. It's going to break it down and each item is going to be its own div. So we're going to want to use this, but instead of doing the .map over a weird list of numbers, we want to do that over our to-do items. So where did we store our to-do items? Anyone?
In the to-do list interface?
The to-do list interface just defines what a to-do list looks like. But we stored them. If you go, Kato, if you go on the app.tsx line, scroll up a little bit to where we did the state hooks. Yeah, right here. So look at line 15. It's to-do list. That's the variable that holds the list of to-do types. And then where do we use set to-do list? Right there. Perfect. So we may have a function called refresh to-do list, and we call it, and we set the to-do list with the response. And then on line 42, this is a cool thing that React does. There's a function called useEffect. If you have a useEffect, anything inside the useEffect gets called the second the code starts. So when this component re-renders, we're going to refresh the to-do list. So that all that means is once Kaito hits refresh on the app, we're going to get the latest data. So your data, your to-do list items are set in that variable to-do list. So can you remove the list of 1 through 7 and instead just put your variable to-do list? So backspace, remove the list, yeah. And then do to-do list. Perfect. Nice. So the problem here now is this, here, go ahead and save this, refresh it, and it should fail. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell you that it failed, it just failed. Okay, that's fine. So, oh, perfect. So objects are not valid as React child. They found an object with the keys title is complete ID. So your to-do list item isn't there, like you have an object. Element is an object, it's a to-do item. So let's maybe print the title of it. So on the div on line 56, instead of just element in the curly braces, type element dot is complete. And then capital C for complete. Yeah, perfect. So go ahead and save that. Nice. Did you have items in your database? Kato?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, and you're not seeing them? Yeah, that's the right one. Back to the React app. Can you do Command Option I in the React app?
Command Option I.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, do you see where right at the top of this? Yeah, go to network. Okay, and refresh this tab. Or just refresh yeah, perfect. Okay, do you see on the right, there's one of these items is called to do. So this is the network tab, by the way. You can see that the client is making calls. Yeah, click on that. Okay, there's your to-dos. Yeah, so the data is coming back. Why don't we try this? So, by the way, let me know if anyone else is running into this issue or if you guys have it working. So, Kato, can you go to the refresh to-do list function?
I have the same issue.
You're the same. Okay, cool. Can you go to the refresh to-do list function? Go to where it's defined.
Sorry, are you talking about the network right now, or are you talking about the code?
The code.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, go up to where we create that function. Nice. So on line 23, we're console logging the response. So yeah, let's see that response. Can you click on console in the React app instead of network tab? Go to the console tab. Okay, refresh this. So nothing's getting printed. Let's see here. Can you, were you console.log response? Can you just console.log something else just as a sanity check? Let's make sure that this is getting, that it's getting hit. Perfect. Okay, so this function.
Yeah, line 16 or 17. Did I do anything wrong here?
No, I just added that. I should have removed those lines, but that's fine. Okay, so go into the await get to-dos function in your agent. Yeah. So let's go in here. Oh, yeah, perfect. Can you do me a favor above line 23? Can you hit enter and then console.log response? Nothing like some live debugging. Cool. So yeah, save that and then refresh. So what this tells me is that we're not actually hitting this API, and it doesn't look like it's erroring either. So just to show you guys, if you go into the Brev app, Kato, can you open up the runner on the bottom right? So you can test your APIs here. So just hit play. So here we can see that the API is responding. So our problem is that we're not actually executing this API for some reason. So let's go back to the app.tsx file. Okay, so sanity check. We have refresh to-do list, which is calling get to-dos. And then we have a use effect.
Does anything happen when you hit the button? Because for me, it pops up the console log.
What are you seeing in the console log?
Well, for me, the items don't come up, but then when I console log it, like that, the to-dos come up in my console. But
Oh,
it's
they
not the
do?
same. Yeah, but it's not happening for him, so it's something different, I guess, for him.
Yeah, weird. Let me
That's the
see.
same thing that's happening to me.
So you're
like,
seeing them in the console log, but you're not seeing the actual div?
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I'll look into seeing maybe Kato something's going wrong here, but you can actually just comment out line 54 to 58 and remove line 62 and 76. So you guys can do this as well. What I was trying to do with that example is just show you guys how the map option works. So we were really just iterating over a list, but now we're going to populate our list ourselves. So Kato, if you remove line 62 and 76. Cool, save that. Oh, and then scroll down. You should have, yeah, just remove line 104. And everyone should follow along with this. I don't think I put, oh, sorry. Actually, just remove lines 104 to 111 altogether. And then, yeah, remove the line 113 comment. Or sorry, it's line 106 now. Yeah. And then the last line, 130. Oh. And then, yeah, just comment that out for now. Sorry, comment line 69 only. How are we on time? We're probably about 15, 20 minutes till being done, if that's cool with everyone. Okay, yeah, go ahead and save this. Oh, I see. Yeah. Nice. Cool. I don't know where those stars are coming from. Oh, you can just remove line 54 to 58 altogether, Kato. So we're probably just not iterating on it properly, which is fine. So what you're seeing now is if you guys have followed along with this step, you should be able to see all of your to-do items. Does everyone see their to-do items on the screen? If not, we'll ask someone else to share their screen. Aiden, Eugenio, Julia, Mackenzie, how are you guys doing?
I got a compile error.
You want to share your screen?
I think it's just a silly format or silly
That's
syntax.
fine. I'm sure other people probably
It
run
just
into this.
says variable checkbox used before declaration.
Oh, are you in the code sandbox? Or no?
I am like on my personal
Okay.
editor.
Yeah, and you uncommented the code sandbox?
Sorry, what is
Sorry,
it?
you uncommented the checkbox component?
Oh, let me check. I thought I did, but I might have forgotten to uncomment something else. Am I supposed to uncomment everything?
Yeah, so all of the checkbox components, so it's above the interface and then the checkbox itself.
Okay, let me just uncomment everything.
Cool. I'm gonna catch up real quick so I can share my screen in a sec as well.
Yeah, I'm still getting the same error.
So it might be that the checkbox is below the export default app. Do you see that line?
Yeah.
If you just copy the interface checkbox props all the way down to the end of the checkbox and move it to the top, that should be good.
Copy all of the code or just the interface?
The interface and the checkbox component itself, and just move it to above the line 10 where it says function app.
It says cannot find T.
Cannot find T. What line?
So in the checkbox at the very bottom, it says to do equals T in brackets.
Oh, I had that. There was like one piece that was just like an example. You can go ahead and remove that. It's like right above the interface. I had like, are you talking about that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just go ahead and remove that. That was just like an example of how to use it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry if that wasn't clear.
Okay, it works now.
Cool. So I want to show you guys what we just did. So part of what I was saying in the slides earlier was that with React, we can create these things called components. And when you make a component, what you're saying is you're going to put some code in one spot and you can let it, that's a great way to abstract your code. So a good example of this is a checkbox. If we have a to-do list item, we might want to view it with a checkbox, kind of like we do right here. right? And so to do this, we can create a component. So just like how we had function app, you're going to see this a lot, by the way, in JavaScript. So you can say function, my func. This is equivalent to const my func. So these are the same line. They do the same thing. You guys have seen this fat arrow notation a lot. I tend to prefer it, and I think it's a good practice to use it. So I recommend that over this. Even this, we should probably have just said like const app. Oops. So all the same thing. So here we're creating a function called checkbox. Props are what you pass in. So when you look at button, here we had on click. When you look at input, we have value and on change. These things are called props. It's just the data that you pass into React components. It's just the essentially like the variable or the parameter for them. So the props, we're giving it a type. I'm defining checkbox props. The props are to do and on change. So the to do is our to do type, which we defined over here in the agent. And the on change is a function that we're going to call when something happens. By the way, to show the power of like TypeScript, I know this wasn't working in Cato's editor, but if I come here and say T, because we're iterating over a to-do list, it knows it's of to-do type. So the item T, it knows is a to-do type. So if I come here in my editor and just type period, these are the fields that we defined. So what was I? Oh yeah. So we have here the label and the input. So the input is a checkbox. When it changes, we're gonna change the value, and then we're gonna call the parent function, this on change. So that's how we're able to view this now. So we just kind of separated some of the logic for the checkbox. So the last step that we have, and then we'll have a fully functioning to-do app, is modifying the to-do. Should I do this, or does someone else want to share their screen and finish it off? I know, forced interaction, but this is already going so much better than the earlier class, I swear. Okay, I'll do it, fine. All right. So in the checkbox, we want to, what we want to do when someone clicks an item is we want to actually update it, right? So right now, nothing happens. It doesn't persist in the database, so it's not persisting, right? So does anyone remember which HTTP, which verb, what method we need to use to actually change data in the server?
Post.
Post creates data in the server. Put, exactly. So we need a put request changes the client data. So this to-do item that we're gonna modify, it exists in the server. So we need to give it the ID, and we need to say, please change it. So in the Brev code, oh, I have a chat message. Oh, sorry, there's the Zoom overlay. So in our Brev code, we have a put. It takes in an ID. If the ID is in the database, we're going to get the object. We're going to change the is complete value to be the opposite of what it was. So check or uncheck, right? And then we're going to persist it. We just put it back in the database. If it doesn't exist, we'll make an error. So let's go ahead and now add that. So modify to do. So this is going to fail. So again, we need to uncomment this. So we have our function that calls modify to do, and then it'll refresh the to-do list. Modify to do here. So I think that's all we have. Yeah. So then in the agent, we have one last thing to uncomment. So we're going to make a fetch call to our brev URL. We're going to give it the ID that gets passed in. So again, in our app.tsx file, we have modify to do. This is the ID. We pass it in. Let me know if I'm going too fast or if this is making sense. And then the method, just like how above we were using get and post, we're going to have a put, right? And that's all we need to do. So now when I mark an item as complete, it goes away. And if I refresh, it persisted because we actually changed the data in our database. Something else, if you guys want to try, So you'll notice I put a condition here. I said, I only want to view the items that are not complete. We said, if it's not complete, so this question mark notation is a fancy JavaScript way of doing, it's called the ternary operator. It allows you to like, it's like an if else statement. So if the item is not complete, render the checkbox. Otherwise, just show nothing. So maybe after our to-do items, we can show our unchecked items. So we can go ahead and copy this line and we'll do the opposite condition, except this time we'll flip it. Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, no, exactly. So we're just gonna have the opposite condition. And the goal here, the reason why this is split is because the to-dos that have not been completed are gonna get rendered first. And then we'll see the to-dos that have been checked. So now, boom. So when I mark 2, it goes to the bottom. And also if I unmark something, it goes to the top. And if I refresh the page, it all works. Does everyone have that running? All thumbs up. Pablo, Julia, Mackenzie.
I think I'm missing something, but it's fine.
No, it's not. Share your screen.
fine.
It'll probably help everyone else out too.
I think I'm missing the part where the completed items are showing.
Where the completed items. Oh, okay. Do you want to share your screen or should I share mine?
I can share.
Cool. Cool. So on line 66, what we're saying here is we're going to, so on line 65, we do to-do list. That's all of your to-do items. Dot map. We're going to iterate over every single one. And only on line 66, we have the condition. Only if T complete is not true. So if the item is unchecked, that's when we're going to show the checkbox item. Right?
Yeah,
So
no.
copy lines 65 to 76. Cool. And then at the end of 76, make a new line and paste that again. But this time, change the condition. So instead of where that exclamation point is, just remove it. So now what you're saying is, only if it's complete, show the item. And what this is going to do is it's going to show you your incomplete items, and then it'll show you your complete items. So
Gotcha.
save this and then open up the window.
Okay, it works now.
Nice.
Yay, thanks.
Yeah. So you guys have everything going, everything's deployed and ready to go. The one thing we haven't done yet is deployed the front end. So deploying a backend in a database is kind of a pain in the ass. So that's one of the reasons why we built Brev. So your API is live. You can use it right off the bat. For your front end to deploy it, there's some really cool tools. So we can get this set up. Does anyone here have a GitHub account? Can someone with a GitHub account share their screen and I can show you guys how to run this? Or I guess actually I can follow up maybe with instructions if you guys want on how to deploy the front end, but there's a really easy tool called Netlify. So if you use Netlify, actually, would you guys like to set that up? Would that be helpful to see that being run?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that.
Cool. So yeah, someone take it away.
I have Netlify. Should I log in there?
Yeah. Oh, that's even better.
Let me just log in and then I'll share.
Real quick, while he's logging in, I want to show you guys something. So with Brev, we're managing your environment as well. So if you want to install packages, you can do so right here. So you can like add a package like this. You can create more endpoints to any project. So I'm going to say like text people. Don't abuse this. And if you go to text people, because we're managing your environment, you can just import SMS. And let's do phone, comma, message. We can do SMS.send, phone, comma, message. Again, please don't abuse this. if you guys actually want to build a chatbot, you can just install the Twilio package and build a full one. This is like a simple thing that we have just to kind of show how this can be really powerful. So the way that you can run this in 2 ways. One is through the endpoint runner. So we can do phone and message.
I think I just took away your screen. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Here, I'll share again. So you can use the endpoint runner to test things out, but the way that you pass these types of arguments in is in the URL. So we have our text people, question mark, phone equals, in my case, it's, I guess you guys can all text me now. And message is hello from Brev. So I'm going to run this. And I just got a text message. So you'll see hello from Brev. So you can actually build things really fast by doing this. Does anyone else want a text message? So I'll post, actually, you know what? I'll just post this. Oops. I can just post this. Actually, so by the way, everyone, you can go to docs.brev.dev. You can see our full developer documentation. So if you just type SMS, you'll see how to use the built-in SMS tool. So there's full docs on like anything you're trying to build. So if you're trying to save files or anything like that, you can do that from here. And always, you guys have my email now. So just hit me up. Let me know I can help. And then Eugenio, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah.
Cool. So can you save the code that you wrote to a Git repo?
Yes.
Oh, you're here. So actually,
yeah, I've never used this before. So I'm trying to think how.
Okay, wait. On the left, do you see the rocket ship?
On the left, the rocket ship. Yes. There.
Deploy to Netlify. There's a button.
Oh, wow.
This sometimes doesn't work. So let's I don't know, not hold our breaths, but let's see.
It should work since it's all logged in on.
So the way, by the way, that you can deploy to Netlify. So actually, while this runs, I'm going to share my screen to show. If that's cool. Did I just, yeah. So my code here is deployed. Let's see. So sorry, I'm using Git. I don't know if you've used Git, but I'm just going to save my changes. And then you can push your Git changes. Once you push your Git changes, you can actually go to Netlify if you make an account, and you just log in with GitHub or whatever you're using for tracking your repository. And then it takes a long time. So I can say new site from Git. I'm going to say from GitHub. I thought my internet was fast, but based on me kind of losing connection once and this, I'm starting to think otherwise. So I can pick my site. This was on BrevDev, and it's called To Do. And that's it. You just say deploy site. So you just pick the GitHub repo that you want to store from, and it'll literally just deploy your site, and it'll give you a domain and everything. You can also build your site. So I think you can run in the terminal npm run build, and it'll compile your site for you, and then you can drag that in and make a deploy that way. How do I do that? Sites. Can I do new builds? I haven't done that one before. So, but yeah, I recommend just doing it through GitHub. Nice. Okay, can you go open Netlify site?
Yeah, it's not showing up yet. I think it's still like queuing on Netlify.
How about
right?
if you click the blue button on right there that says open Netlify site, what happens? Nothing? Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not showing up here. That's an old one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not.
Hmm.
Yeah, no.
Oh, it maybe because in the dropdown from Node BK's team, can you click that dropdown? Oh,
Yeah,
are you
it's
hooked?
all logged in, so maybe it's all logged in through GitHub. So I thought it maybe it would connect, but probably not.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just slow for some reason.
Yeah, I
But
mean, saying it's cute, so I think like it's.
yeah.
I think it's still.
Okay. So yeah, it looks like
regular.
it's just cute to Netlify. It might just take a few minutes, but
Yeah.
yeah, if you, I just highly recommend using Netlify. I like to go through the terminal. You just because you could just push it to your GitHub repository and then the rest is done. One last thing, and then I'll let you guys go. For anyone that's been using the Brev app through the web app, you can actually also just go through the terminal. So I'll show you how to kind of run that. So I was on a project called todo_app. So you can run the Brev. If you go to brev.dev, you'll see a get started guide. And it will show you how to install the Brev CLI. That allows you to make backends really easily on the terminal. So I'm going to do Brev clone name, and it was called todo app.
What was the URL that you gave at the beginning? Sorry.
Well, one more time.
Yeah, the URL, rev.what to get the.
Oh, if you go to brev.dev, that's our URL. So if you go to app.brev.dev, it'll take you to the actual app that you were using. If you just go to brev.dev and then click on get started, you can download our CLI. So now I can CD into the app and I can actually just run brev commands from here. So brev endpoint run. The name I want to run is, okay, let me see. Oh, I have, okay. I use my own brev account for development. So this is not going to work right here. So I can add brev endpoints. And so now I have the hello.py. So I can open this up in my code, in my VS code. I can change something. So hi get from brev. And then I can brev endpoint run name hello method get, and it runs my code. So you can do everything that we've been doing, but right from the terminal. Cool. So if that's it, yeah, do you guys have any other questions?
Yeah, so I was curious, like, what do you consider this a replacement for? Like, what do you consider Brev a replacement for? Is that like a replacement for, like, I don't know, like, is this like something that you could use instead of like MongoDB or like another database, or like, is this something that's like, this is how you deploy it? Like,
Yeah. So there are a lot of tools that you need if you want to build a backend that will scale with your app and also just in general. And so like if you want to build a backend right now, you need to pick a framework, pick a language, figure out how to deploy that. And then you also need to pick a database, make sure that that's scaling with however you chose to deploy your backend. And it's just kind of all over the place. And so from our last startup, we just found ourselves solving infrastructure problems a lot. And when you're solving those, by definition, you're not solving whatever, you're not working on what you're trying to work on. And so, which in our case is just building things and really, and, shipping them. And so, Brev is kind of taking a full approach to it. So we provide a database, we provide the framework, the language, the deploy, and everything. So by default, everything that you write is hosted. Your database is automatically there for you. And so it takes just seconds to actually start writing code, and you don't have to go through and even make the decisions of, how to piece these things together, but then also, you don't have to go deal with them later. So any endpoint on Brev is built for scale. So you can hit these with, 5,000 requests per second, and they'll still, they'll handle that load. So it's not there's a lot of places where it's like, here's some code, go run it. So this will run it. It makes sure it has a database, it's hosted, but then also you don't have to kind of move off of it. A lot of those platforms, you eventually have to get off of that. And so, yeah.
Cool. I think it would be cool if you had like basically another one of these sessions, like something on like YouTube or something where like somebody can just like go through the tutorial or something.
Yeah, so I'll definitely upload this to YouTube. And I was thinking that like if this is something that you guys found useful, you'll probably I had sent email around actually like 10 minutes ago for it to fire off, but you guys should get a form just to kind of see how you guys felt about this. Definitely fill it out. And if you guys did find this useful, I'd be very happy to do more of these and maybe just do them live and then record them and put them on YouTube. So I guess, yeah, like, would there be another topic that you guys want to see covered, or is there something that you guys want to build? Something that we could do, for example, is like next time we could add auth, so you could actually have users that sign into their own to-do apps.
For me personally, it doesn't really matter. It could be something similar to this. I'm just like, for me personally, I'm going through tutorials right now, and it's kind of like, it'd be interesting to just have yours out there as like another thing, like instead of like, okay, well, we're gonna do like the MERN stack or something, like we're gonna do React, but we're gonna do Brev in the back end, and like, okay, this is how you do it. And I don't know, it'd just be interesting for me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely fill out that form and let me know, kind of your guys' thoughts. But yeah, I'm definitely happy to do more of these.
Thank you again.
Yeah,
it was really
thank you
nice
guys.
to meet you and see everybody. So
Yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you all. And yeah, I don't know if you want to follow us on Twitter. I'll let you guys know when new things are happening with Brev. We have a very exciting release coming soon. A little secret. So we're gonna have cron jobs, which means that you can trigger your API to get hit every however often without you having to do anything. So you could have a bot that texts you updates every day at 9 a.m. Something like that. I don't know. So
Awesome. Thank you very much. It was really cool. I had to deploy it again, but was trying to send a link. So I'll have to do it later.
yeah, sounds good. Yeah, let me know how that goes. You guys have my email, so just shoot me an email.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys. See ya.
Yeah, I'll try to read the documentation to see if I can understand it a bit more, because right now I'm a bit overwhelmed, I think.
There's definitely, we did a lot. So yeah, feel free to email me. Also, if you go to the getting started on our website, you can book time with me. So I have my Calendly there. So if you guys want to just hop on a call, let's do it.
Yeah, I think I will do. Thank you very much.
Ready. See ya. See you guys.
See you, everybody.